Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all the members who have joined us today. I hope the FTP has helped us gain a fair understanding about research methodology and design, with emphasis on research tools and AI applications. As we come to the concluding session, we are going to look at writing effective research proposals, enhancing collaboration, and interdisciplinary research. These have become need of the hour. To give us a vivid picture about this topic, we have with us Dr. Parul Singh. Let us have a look at her profile.
Dr. Parul Singh is currently working as Assistant Professor, Department of Educational Psychology and Foundations of Education, NCERT, New Delhi. She worked as a consultant for the Australian Council for Education Research and served as the Vice Principal of Army Public School, Madura. With over 12 years of experience as a senior consultant, advisor, educator, and researcher, she brings extensive expertise in project coordination and execution. She completed PhD in education from the Department of Education, Central Institute of Education at the University of Delhi. Additionally, she holds postgraduate degrees in education, sociology, and English. Her areas of interest include teacher education, sociology, sociology of education, higher education, reflective education, and marginalization. She has collaborated with various educational institutions and organizations, including the Department of Teacher Education, Educational Survey Division, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhinayam, Department of Curriculum Studies, and National Council of Educational Research and Training. Don Bosco College welcomes you, ma'am.
Hearty welcome and over to you, ma'am.
Namaskar, aap sabhi ko. And thank you so much for this introduction. I hardly want to extend my warmest greetings to each one of you. Rather, I must say it's truly an honor to be the part of this gathering because I just came to know that you all people are very enthusiastically joining and attending your sessions. And I want to express my gratitude to the organizers, the Global Ethics, the South Asian Center, and the Don Bosco College as well for putting this, impactful like faculty development program. So, and like without talking much about, let's come to the session. So today's our discussion is, going to revolve around the central theme of writing the effective research proposal, enhancing the collaboration and the interdisciplinary research. Interestingly, when we just talk about the research proposals, usually there is like kind of a perception that it's a bureaucratic requirement. It is a thing which is just required to fulfill certain objectives, but actually it's not. They are the real foundations upon which are that are scholarly, like the compassion the endures usually build up. So today, we are, going to discuss about the nuances that how to craft the compelling research proposals and how we can explore with the skill and why it is crucial in our academic journey. But I'm very much sure because when we are discussing about this topic that we're supposed to take a session on this, then there are the two terms. And I'm sure that you might wonder that why we are emphasizing on the collaboration and the interdisciplinary research in this. So while putting these two terms together, the whole idea and why we are doing the advocacy is that nowadays when we just look at the nature of the research, it's something that it's need of the hour to break down the silos that are traditionally, that practicing separated academic disciplines. So collaboration, when we especially look at this term collaboration, it's no longer just an option. Rather, I must say it is a kind of a necessity.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Your slide is not yet visible. I guess you need to share again.
Is it, sir?
Yeah, you need to stop and start sharing again.
Mhm. Now is it visible?
Yeah, now perfect. Yes.
Okay. I was talking about like when we were discussing about the collaborative practices and the interdisciplinary research practices. Nowadays, these terms are not that like it's not a choice of like collaborating certain things. Rather, it's all about the culture. When we just talk about collaboration, it is in a culture and interdisciplinary research. When we just look at the very nature of it somehow encourages a kind of a fusion of diverse idea, a fusion which leads to the innovative solution. And in this whole discussion, I mean the discussion of in a 1 hour or somewhere 50 minutes, we will try to put that like our vision in such a way so that we can delve more into the importance of the collaborative efforts across the discipline. And we also try to understand that how the effective research proposal can we can say that act as a catalyst for fostering a meaningful partnership, because that whole research is the kind of a partnership nowadays. It's not a corner activity, and it was never a corner activity. So let's talk about the very first thing. What is a research proposal? It's a very basic thing. The moment we talk about the research proposal, some obvious thing come in our mind, like it's in a kind of on a piece of in a paper of in a research as in a document broadly, which deals with majorly in the four areas. Like first thing, what the proposed research is about. Second, what it is trying to find out or achieve, what we want to achieve through this. Third thing, how it will go about doing that, how we will go about it, like how we will reach to the end product of it. And fourthly, what we will learn from it and why that is worth learning. So once it is approved, then the proposal, like once we are done with these four, the specific perspectives, then only it will lead to then a research, or we can say sometimes, because when it is especially for the master students, we call it as in a project, we sometimes call it as in a dissertation and all, but we need to put the things in these four particular, the perspectives, the frameworks, and automatically things get developed out of these four things. So the complete proposal, when we just look at the research proposal, it is actually the product of a sustained process, because this is already in a sustainable form. There is in a sustained process of what? Of the planning and design. These are the two important things, that the planning and designing, and this is in a process in it. And both, when we just look at these two terms, rather it's planning or designing, these both and the planning of the research and the proposal for the research are just as important as the phase of research. It's very, very, very important, which came after the proposal. And those of executing and the reporting the research. Indeed, I mean, if we just look at it, in some type of a researches, because there are the different types of research, though I will not touch all these things here, I will just try to give you a brief. Like in a different type of a research, especially those which are very tightly pre-planned, the planning of the research can be seen as a very, very, very crucial and the critical phase of a process. In this like sort of a research which are the tightly planned, the plan which is developed from the basis for the rest of the research. Because if there is a problem with the plan, because it was too tightly, like if, like suppose we take an example of the experimental research, if there is a problem with our plan, then definitely it will be very challenging, very difficult to reach at the end product. So that's the research proposal, how we just usually look at it. The research proposal, we say that it is a kind of a document which is a product of a process of what? Of planning and designing. So when we just look at these terms, the planning and the designing, there is also a kind of an argument which needs to have a sort of a coherent line of reasoning and the internal consistency. And of course, when we just talk about that there are certain arguments, then automatically those arguments somehow develops the kind of characteristics of the research proposal. So the two that little less obvious but the very important characteristics of the proposal are the first thing, the proposal is like it's something that often the first time a researcher, the very first time a researcher, rather it's a master students, the PhD students, or anyone, even if being in a professor, like if we just go for some sort of a research project, this is a very first time we are presenting our work to some kind of wider audience. Second, when we just talk about the research proposal, we also consider it as a finished product. When we talked about it as a finished product, it needs to be the standalone document. Like this means that when I'm using the word standalone, I'm very carefully using this word. It means that at certain point of a time, in the approval process, suppose I want to go and take some projects from SSR or some faculty, then at some point of a time, it requires a kind of an approval process. And it will be read by the people who have to discuss the work with the researcher. So it is a standalone document. So now let's come to this. Like, what is a proposal? Because firstly, we need to understand that actually what is a proposal, how to make it effective, and why we are using the word the collaboration and the interdisciplinary research nowadays. So what is a proposal? We can say with the whole idea we discussed here, it is a kind of an opportunity. It gives us it's in a sense, it gives an opportunity to present our idea. And then a proposed action, like that's what I'm going to do in the later stages. That's how I'm going to process. For what? For consideration. For consideration in a shared decision-making situation. It's not it's not only my decision. It's not my head's decision. It's like I'm presenting my idea in such a way, which gives us a space for the consideration of our actions. And it's in a shared decision-making situation. So also, like with all the integrity at our command, and also we are trying to help those responsible for approving the proposal to see that how we view the situation, because I am writing my proposal. So I'm trying to give them a feel, give them a look that actually this is the way, that's my lens to view the situation. So how the idea fills a need, and how it builds on what has been done before. Because there is in a literature review process, so many things. This is that how I'm building my idea and how I will proceed, how I will avoid all the pitfalls, and why the pitfalls have not avoided are not a serious threat. What the study's consequences are like if I'm doing this study, if I'm taking this research project or proposal, what are the consequences I can face in the due process and likely to be, what significance they are likely to have. So these all things are usually covered when we just talk about our proposal. So it is not a kind of we can say a sales job, but somehow it is a kind of it's a kind of a situation where it requires a carefully prepared, enthusiastic, interestingly written, and skilled presentation. The more I'm skilled with my presentation, it displays my ability to assemble, whatever the material available into internally consistent chain of the reasoning. So we need to present the material in such a way so that the people can get an idea that actually what are the things, we want to address through this. Because when it comes to the proposal at any level, rather it's a master's level, the PhD level, even the professor level, at any level, there are the certain expectations by the proposals. And when we just especially talk about the university context or to the higher education context, there is an issue of approval of the dissertation proposals. For the research to proceed or to enable the graduate students or somehow the PhD students to complete their degrees. And when it comes to faculty, then the research grant or the funding context is also one of the very issue, and the competitive sort of, nowadays, because so much of scores are also related to it. So some of these things goes inside the university, but much of it happens outside the universities as well. So I will focus mainly in the higher, education context. When it comes to any kind of a proposal, whether it's dissertation or something, then the reader of the proposal, the one, suppose in a committee member or somewhere, they require to make two sort of judgments, after going through any proposal. The first thing, there are there are the judgments on the journal level, very journal basic level. When I talked about the journal level, it means I'm focusing that they mainly concerned with the overall viability of the proposed study as a dissertation, as a thesis or something. And second, there are the judgments on the more detail and the technical level. So these are the two basic judgments the moment anybody go through any proposal, such as those concerned with the appropriateness of the research design, or we can say the quality control issues in the data collection, because that's a very important methodology, is a very important part which needs to be thoroughly and rigorously understood while preparing the proposals, or we can say the proposed methods of the data analysis. So this section concerned the judgment on the more general level. So the generally we can divide it in the four broader category when like the proposal comes and while preparing a new proposal. First thing, is the proposed research feasible and doable in the given circumstances? Because they're like, that paucity of the time, the funds and everything, and especially the context sometimes. Second, is the research worth doing? Can the researcher do it? And the fourth one, if done, what will it produce? I mean, as a successful thesis, dissertation, as a research project, and at whatever level is involved. So, in another word, we can say, with this overall understanding, the proposal are used to judge not two things. First, the viability of the proposed research, whether it is viable what I'm proposing. Second, the ability of the candidate to carry it out. If I'm at the master's level, I know my limitations. I have to make a proposal in such a way, which I can carry in the given in the limited resources and everything. So whether I do have an ability to carry even a particular concept and idea, and it is therefore the pivotal document in the dissertation student's journey. So in this context, the research proposal plays a role that reaches beyond its simple significance as a plan of action. It's just not only the plan of action, it's something beyond it. Like in fact, we can say in most of the instances, the decision to permit the students to embark on a thesis or the dissertation is made solely on the basis of that first formal document, the very first formal document, right? And the quality of the writing in the proposal is likely to be used by the advisors as a basis for the judging the clarity of the thoughts, whether do I have any clarity or not, that has preceded to the document, the degree of the facility, like up to what level I can facilitate, this particular, the proposal or the research study with which we can say the study will be implemented if approved. Suppose the study get approved, like how I can take it to the implementation level and the adequacy of the expository skills the student will bring to reporting the results. So in totality, we can say that there are some implications for the proposal writers that follow certain questions. The very first thing, before writing any proposals, we as a scholars, the readers especially, and the researchers, we need to have a sufficient information in the proposals. The proposal need to be thorough and to address all the necessary headings, because there is a certain format for everything. Like if we are at the university level, there is a certain format to go for the doctoral work, for the dissertation work, for any kind of a grant and all. The proposal needs to be very clear, especially on what the research is trying to find out, what we are trying to achieve through this, on how it will do that, or why it is worth doing. And, as I shared, that is the context of the research. We need to build things very, very, very effectively and beautifully. The proposal should also, show the kind of evidences of a thorough and the carefully preparation that actually I'm thorough with this. I was very careful while planning and preparing, even when the research is of the less pre-planned or the more emerging kind, because it is not necessary that we should be, very tightly pre-planned any research. No, it can be the emerging kind as well. But what we need to do, we need to be, very well planned, carefully planned. That okay, that's the basic nature of my research. It is an emerging kind. It's not that kind of, experimental research tightly pre-planned. But in both the ways, we need to be very careful and very thorough, because research itself demand a kind of a systematic, kind of a thorough and a careful approach, and with the attention to the details. So the proposal should have that strength to demonstrate, and its content and its presentation, that the student is aware of it. So as I already said, the proposal needs to be in a standalone document. It is in a standalone document. I mean, like anybody can, while just going through the pages, can understand it without your presence. So this means that it needs to make a sense to a reader. Often, sometimes what happens, like I'm presenting my proposal to the people, those who are not experts from that particular field. So they are often non-experts who has not discussed the work with the student and who may not even know the student. So the proposal should not need the students' presence or anybody's presence, I mean, like not even our presence, to interpret or make clear what is being said. You know why I'm focusing on these issues? Surprisingly, whenever I got some scholar like with some sort of a dissertation and all, like, I like very oftenly I used, and even I just found so many people used the sentence or reacting in such a way like, this is not clear to me, or I cannot understand this, to the scholars. And in that way, the scholar come up with a kind of a response. What I meant was this. It means they are trying to explain, which is not written in that. So what we need to do, the very first thing, again and again, I'm like emphasizing on it. We need to be little, we need to have a clarity, and it is a standalone document. We need to put everything what we are trying to say at the different level. Now, let's come to this because it's very important when we are talking about the research proposal, the effective research proposals, and when we are talking about the collaboration and especially the interdisciplinary research as well. So I usually look broad at the broader level. The purpose of the proposal, I just look at it as three different phases. But before getting into it, as I discussed with you, that there is a difference between the pre-structured research and the research which is unfolding. So there is nothing wrong if, like, you are not very thorough, very tightly planned. It can be, unfolding or the emerging research. Now, the question might come in your mind that why I'm using these two terms distinctly. This distinction, which has an implication for the proposal development. Rather, I must say that these distinctions have a very deep sort of impact on the proposal development. It's all about the amount of the structure and the specificity, which is like planned into the research. More accurately, it's about the timings of such structure. The structure, because like proposal has a structure, can be introduced in the planning or the pre-empirical stage. There is a planning stage, a pre-empirical stage. And as a proposal is being developed, or you can say it can be emerge in the execution stage. There is a planning stage, there is an execution stage. And when it reaches to the execution stage of the research, or like, the moment it comes to at a stage where the study is being carried out, so across the whole field of the empirical social science research, especially, studies may vary. Studies definitely vary from the tightly pre-planned and pre-structured to almost totally unfolding with many positions in between. It can be pre-planned, it can be unfolding, and it varies definitely. So this is therefore a central issue to be clear about in planning of the research and in communicating that plan through the proposal. I mean, we need to communicate this thing very effectively, whether, like which sort of research, in which paradigm we are planning to work with. I mean, we should be very thorough with our conceptual framework while developing a research proposal, because this distinction especially applies to the research question and the design and the data, and it may also include, of course, the conceptual framework, because it is a very, very, very important part. So now, with this understanding, like I just also want to say, when I was talking about the emerging or the unfolding sort of research, it means there are certain very clear-cut examples, like the qualitative research. It's an unfolding, or we can say the unfolding case study, or ethnographies, or the life history. Even it is perfectly fine to go with little sort of, that unfolding research, but we need to be thorough that whether it is an ethnographic research, it's a case study we are talking about, it's a life history we are talking about. So in that way, we need to put all these things in our research proposal. So with this, I mean, we can broadly say the purpose of a research proposal, or the broad functions of the research proposal. The very first thing is the planning. As I discussed earlier as well, and again, I mean, like re-emphasizing my statement that the proposal that serves as it's in a kind of an action plan. It's in a proposed action plan, like what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do, when I'm going to do for carrying a kind of a research. So, like even when it is in a very tightly planned, pre-planned the research, and therefore the plan in the proposal, it vary across in the different research style. You have a different research style, the plan can vary as per that. But the research report, when we just look at the research report, it can be no better than the plan of investigation. Just we are investigating something, everything we need to put it, at one platter. So the existence of a detailed plan that incorporates somehow the most careful anticipations, because we are anticipating the problems to be confronted. And of course, during that course of action, the most powerful insurance against the oversight or the ill consideration choices during the execution phase of the investigation. When we get into the process of investigation, or when we are getting into the field of the research or in the process of research, then sometimes we ill consider certain choices. So when we are actually thorough with our plan, it helps us to carry away with all those things. And actually, the we can say that I must say the hallmark of a good proposal is a level of thoroughness and the detail sufficient to permit the same planned observation with a result, I must say, not substantially different from those of the writers or the researcher which might obtain. Now let's come to the second point, which is very important. That is a collaboration. Collaboration, and especially because nowadays when we talk about this, the research, and especially after this, even the new education policy, the like so much focus on then a collaborative culture as well. So it recognizes the evolving dynamics of the modern research. It's in a paramount. So beyond the traditional silos, because traditionally every discipline, like they're working in the silos of academic pursuits, like collaboration, it emerges in some sort of, we can say, as a catalyst for what? Catalyst for the innovation. I must say that emerges as a catalyst for enrich the very essence of our scholarly pursuits. So when it comes to collaborating in research, it's not a kind of a trend, it's not a fashion, because sometimes it's like in the institutions we use that we need to collaborate, so it's not a trend talking about collaboration, rather we need to see it as a complete paradigm shift. It's all about acknowledging, it's all about accepting, it's all about giving importance to that diverse minds, which somehow bring a richness, which brings a sort of depth that can't be achieved in isolation. Like if I'm working in isolation, I might not be able to reach at that level. And there, the moment I realized it requires a sort of a collaboration, it requires that kind of a culture which actually lead me to the best out of that idea, because every idea has its own potential. So we will explore, like somehow we will also need to see that why the collaborative efforts are, indispensable, why we just give so much of importance nowadays, especially when we talk about the research. Like, of course, like one more thing, when I talked about the collaborative research, it's actually what? What is collaboration? Collaboration is like something, it's an art, it's an art. And like, and to what we call as an art, like art is a sort of in a form. What is art? It requires certain skills. When I said that collaboration is an art, it means it requires intention. Exactly. And the right tools. These three things, if we are not well versed with these three things, if we don't have any required skills, intention, and the right tool, it's very difficult to achieve that art form, because I consider it as an art form, right? So how we go about it, like if I want to go within a collaboration, like how we can go with it. First thing, effective communication. At least I should be able to communicate like my idea. Sometimes the students come up with a very good idea, there is something which is which is already in their head, they're cooking up something, but they are not able to express what they want to say. They are not able to put their ideas on the table in such a manner which is easy to understand by everybody. So we should have that kind of like the potential to effectively communicate what we want to do. Secondly, the leveraging the digital platform, because nowadays, like the digital platform, we need to utilize in such a way, because it has its own potential, so that we can collaborate. And third thing, we should be aware that how to cultivate an environment in such a conducive way that where the collaboration are just a few threads we will need to weave into our proposal, that how to weave this into our proposal. So whether we are a seasoned researcher, like might be so experienced, or might be it's my first collaborative venture. It's not like if I'm trying to collaborate with you, might be it's my very first exposure, my very first experience. But these strategies definitely help us to navigate the collaborative landscape. I want to put this thing in a very small example. Like for example, me as a scholar, because I'm a social scientist, like I want to look anti-bullying aspects in the school. So what I need to do I need to collaborate with someone, or I can take it as an myself, because I am a researcher, I did my doctoral work from fala place, so I can do it. So it's not like that. So I need to definitely collaborate with the researchers, I need to collaborate with the educators, I need to collaborate with the students, because as here I'm talking about the anti-bullying, I need to collaborate with the counselor of that school, I need to collaborate with the teachers, I need to put all the, and especially because might be that school like is not of my own social cultural context, I need to understand that context as well. So the lot of collaboration is required, and if I'm able to do that collaboration effectively, then definitely I can actually give the meaning to my research proposal, I can give a direction, I can put my ideas in a product way. That's because like there is an idea, it's in a process, but to put it at the finishing line, to put it as in a product, we need the collaboration. And now the third thing, the communication, it's very important. I said it's a very important skill as well. So the proposal, because they communicates the researcher's intention and the research plan to those like who give the approval and also allocate the funds. So the document, when I said the proposal, is a primary resource of which the students review panel or the dissertation committee must base the function of review, must base the function of consultation, must base the function of approval of the research project. So I must say that it serves a kind of a function for a person holding the purse strength of the foundations of the governmental funding agencies sometimes, especially at the assistant professors or the professors level. So the quality of assistance, the economy of consultation, and I must say the probability of the approval will all depends directly on the clarity and the thoroughness of the proposal. Now, let's come to the one more important thing when we just talk about the interdisciplinary research, because we are talking too much about the interdisciplinary research, and there is one picture in on your screen straight away. So when we talk about this word, that's interdisciplinary research, so we embark are the fascinates exploration into the realm of the interdisciplinary research. We're very fascinated with this word, okay, interdisciplinary research, but we need to understand actually what it is. That's a domain where the boundaries, I must say, between the disciplines that blur. It gets shed away, it gets blurred, and give rise to a synergy, give rise to something new that holds the potential for the groundbreaking discoveries and the holistic problem solving. So it's not that like we are using the word interdisciplinary like out of a fashion or something like this. It's not. But actually, when we really trying to understand something, like for example, it's like it's more than the buzzwords. Like it's a paradigm. It's a paradigm that I must say that reshapes that that encounters of the conventional inquiry, because we are into the process of research quite long. But when we try to break that, so it gives us a paradigm and it helps us in reshaping that everything. So it somehow involves the convergence of the methodology. It involves the convergence of the theories. It involves the convergence of the insight from the different academic disciplines. And that's why we call it as an interdisciplinary research. And that also fosters, the moment I said interdisciplinary, it fosters a collaborative environment in such a way that transcends the disciplinary silos. So now the most, you might be thinking that why I just put this picture of elephant on the screen. The whole idea actually, there is a story behind it, that the blind men in the elephant, I just put it on the screen like this. And I must say it serves as a very powerful analogy for the value of the interdisciplinary collaboration. Like, it emphasizes the importance of integrating the diverse perspective to form a more complete and a more actually accurate understanding of the complex phenomena mirroring the collaborative nature of interdisciplinary research. I want to narrate a bit about the story. Like the story of the blind men and the elephant is a very classical metaphor. which often used to illustrate the concept of interdisciplinary research and collaboration. Then, very beautifully, in this story, there was a group of blind men who came across an elephant for the very first time. They came across, okay, they saw something, and they all are blind. Okay, we need to keep it in mind that I'm talking about a group of the blind men, and each man touches a different part of the elephant and forms a different perception based on their, I must say, the limited perspective, might be the limited understanding. They just touch, right, different parts. Like one touches the tail and perceive it as a rope, and another touches the leg and thinks, because the leg of the elephant is quite heavy, and they think that it's a tree trunk and so on. And the blind men, they argue like about their individual interpretation because they're so sure on the basis of their previous experience, on the basis of their limited understanding. Okay, like if I'm touching the, the legs of an elephant, it's like in a T trunk and all, like, okay, it's like in a rope or something. They're continuously arguing about their individual interpretations until a wise man suggests that they combine their perspectives to understand the complete picture. And that's what the interdisciplinary collaborative research, and that's why nowadays we are putting so much of emphasis on these two terms while talking about the research, right? And that's why again and again I'm using that as a paradigm shift. So when we just look at the interdisciplinary research, we need to change our perspective. We need to put a glass, we need to put a lens where we can see the things in totality rather than the silos, where we can pull the different disciplines together. And we need to pull it even while preparing our proposal, so that we can come outside from our disciplinary boundaries. Every discipline has its own boundary, and we are working in our boundaries and with a very limited understanding. So it's a time for us to break those boundaries, to come out of it. And especially like when we just look at the application of interdisciplinary research, so we have a different perspectives, no doubt. We have a specialized perspective, we have a limited perspective. When I said the specialized perspective, like the blind man represents researchers or experts in a specific academic discipline. They might have their own specific academic discipline, like the one who said that STEM might be there from the agriculture background. So there is a specialized perspective. There might be the limited perspective, like just again, I want to again give the reference of that blind man story. Like as the blind men have a limited information based on their individual touch points, the researchers in a single discipline may have a narrow view of the multifaceted problems, right? Third thing, like when we come with these two perspectives, might be the specialized perspective or the limited perspective, now what we can do? We need to go with the collaboration, because collaboration is the solution to come up with a holistic understanding, to come up with such in a way so that we can solve the complex problems very effectively. Like just as the blind men are better equipped to describe the elephant collectively, because everybody was expert in their own field, but everybody like touched the different part of the elephant with their different limited understanding and the perspective. But the moment it comes to solve something, we need to solve the complex problem in a very collaborative manner. And that's the beauty of this research, and that's what makes it very important nowadays. Now when it comes to like interdisciplinary research, automatically some questions come in our mind, like what's multidisciplinary, what's interdisciplinary, and the transdisciplinary. So just when we look at the multidisciplinary research, it is actually, I usually call it as a science of interaction, like multiple disciplines that are coming together, but each working primarily with their own frames and methods. They are coming, they are interacting, but they have their own framework to work with. Now, when it comes to interdisciplinary, there is a science of integration. And the moment I said there is a science of integration, it means it involves combining two or more disciplines to discover something within either of these two fields. I mean, we are like combining together to discover something new, or either like I might be exploring you or you are exploring me, or we are trying to combine these two fields. It is a focus on a single subject of investigation, inquiry, which can be understood using the knowledge coming from the different discipline. I'm much more equipped. What makes me more equipped? like the understanding of the different discipline and the strength, because every discipline has its own strength, has its own well-defined research framework and the paradigm and the conceptual framework. So I'm like getting strengthened. I'm getting strengthened by using the knowledge coming from the different discipline. So that is a single question, or we can say a limited set of a research question, which can be comprehended by integrating knowledge and the methods from different disciplines. And a very, very beautiful term also is that's the transdisciplinary. I consider it as in a science of hybridization. Like when I said the hybridization, it's something creating a kind of a crossroad in which the different disciplines sometimes that intersect and problematize each other through a social learning process. Now, with this understanding might be like the question came in your mind, why, that how to make this like when it comes to interdisciplinary and the collaboration, that how to make it happen, like what is the process, I mean how we can take it to the the practical, how we can give the practical shape to all these things, all these concepts. So here when we talk about the process, there are the two very important design. That one is the conceptual design broadly, and the another is technical design. So when we talk about the conceptual design of for any research proposal, then the conceptual design that includes because the word conceptual is very important, and that includes such activities such as thinking, such as exchanging interdisciplinary knowledge, readings, and discussions. And the product, always remember that the two things, the process and the product, right? And the product of the conceptual design is called as a conceptual framework. Like I'm conceptualizing something and I'm coming up within a framework. And the moment I said the conceptual framework, it means what? It comprises of research objective. Research objectives is what is to be achieved by the research, right? The theory, the very important part, the theory, or we can say the theories. It's not necessary to go with a one single theory. There are the theories, because I'm combining the disciplines that are central in the research project, and especially the research questions. Research questions means what knowledge is to be produced, and the partially operationalization of the constructs and concepts is very important. We need to come up with an operationalizations, or our operationalization definitions of the different constructs and different concept which we are using, or we can say that will be measured or recording during the execution of our research proposal or our plan, right? The second is the technical design. The moment I talked about the technical design, basically we come up with to address the issue when we talk about the technical design, that how, the where, and when will research units be studied, or we can say the study design. The second, that how will the measurement proceed? When I'm using the word measurement proceed, it means I'm talking about the instrument selection or the design. What sort of instrument I'm selecting, how and how many research units will be recruited, the sampling plan, how will the collected data be analyzed and synthesized, the analysis plan. And the data analysis plan also describes that the way of analyzing the data and everything. And there are the issues related to quantification of the qualitative data is very important, because they are the chances of many informations which sometimes we lost, like when we're trying to quantify the qualitative data. But the beauty of this, that interdisciplinary and the collaborative research, especially we'll talk about the research proposal, is the integration. To benefit the optimally from the research being interdisciplinary, the module, or we can say the proposal, needs to be brought together in the integration stage. The more integrative it is, the more effective it will be. So the proposal may be the mono or the interdisciplinary, and may rely on, we can say, the quantitative, the qualitative, or any other mixed method approaches, the scientific quality and the ethical consideration in the design of the interdisciplinary research. It is important. It is rather very, very, very important. I'm again re-emphasizing that the team members are prepared to explain and share the ownership of the terms and the respects the different meanings. Otherwise, somehow, we will miss the essence of everything. So it has its own benefits. When I said that interdisciplinary collaborative research, it has its own benefit. Like it helps us to go with the innovative problem solving, the comprehensive. It helps us to enhance our comprehensive understanding, the overall understanding. It also enhance our, the creativity. And the most important thing, it enable us to address the global challenges. And moreover, because when I just collaborate, suppose if I'm collaborating with a different discipline, being a person from sociology, being a person from education, if I got a chance to collaborate with a psychology person, it means what I'm doing, I'm enhancing my learning opportunities as well. Because I got a kind of an exposure, I am engaging myself in such a way that I'm also expanding my horizon. I'm also, like expanding my perspectives. So now with this understanding, so let's come to it's a very simplified model of research. And when I said like my focus on the research question, it's as useful tool and strategy for the developing a proposal, which somehow leads to a simple, but it's a very effective model of a research process. And when the research is organized around the research questions, and when each question conforms to the empirical criteria, we have the model of the research which stresses upon the five very important things. The first thing is the framing the research in terms of a research question. Second, to determining what the data are necessary to answer those questions. Third thing, the designing the research to collect and analyze those data. The fourth thing, that using the data to answer the question. And the fifth thing is like collaboration and the interdisciplinary research. So based on this model of research, we can see that two overall questions that guide the research planning processes. And that are also the question, somehow we can say that around which the research proposal can be written in a very effective way. Later on, with some sort of additions, the dissertation of the research reports, we can modify it. So the question are the straightforward one of what and how. So like with this, I must say, like if the research is the assessment of any inquiry or the intervention designed as a solution to some problem, so what we need to do, we need to thorough with the structure of the research proposal. We also need to see the scope of the collaboration, because it's a kind of in a culture. We need to develop it, or also we need for the broaden our horizon, for develop the perspective. We also need to see, or we can say look it with the lens of the interdisciplinary perspective. So with this understanding, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you for the wonderful session. And I think starting with planning and designing, the emphasis was very clear that planning is very important. And the idea that collaboration is a catalyst and is a part of the paradigm shift, and the need to see it in totality rather than looking at silos, especially the example of the blind man and the elephant, was extremely relevant and to the point. Thank you for all the inputs that you have given us today. What do you think are the challenges that we face in collaboration or interdisciplinary research?
That's a very good question, actually. The moment we talk about collaboration, because it's not that easy thing. Sometimes we are too much into, our subject, too much into our discipline. It becomes very difficult to accept like others' idea. It's very difficult to accept others' perspective. We are not ready to accept it. We are like, okay, if I'm saying this, I'm absolutely right, because it's written. Like it's written in the sense, because if something is written, it's written on the wall. Like we become like tabula rasa. Okay, once get written, it's like we are too much rigid. So rigidity is a big challenge. Sometimes we are not even, we don't have some sufficient resources. Like suppose there is a requirement of in a research study to collaborate with some environmentalists, to go to some glaciers at some different places to understand them, then our resources are also very limited. So we need to, and we are not we sometimes suppose, just imagine we two people are ready to collaborate, but I'm not able to communicate well my idea. I'm not able to communicate that actually what I'm thinking. And with my, the shallow understanding, with my like this thinking, might be you will make fun of my this idea. I'm not ready to open up. I'm not ready to share, because we are not in that culture. Actually, we are not practicing the discussions. We are not very open and accepting and rejecting. Like suppose I said, okay, this idea is very bad. I'm not accepting this idea. We are not ready to accept it. It's okay. It's okay. So we need to come up with this fear. We need to come out of it. And we said, okay, what happened is fine. That's what I was thinking. So might be I need to look at it with different perspectives. So these are the basic challenges what I feel, when we just look at the collaboration.
So the need to have an open perspective is very essential when we talk about collaboration.
True.
Thank you for the wonderful session and thank you for all the information that you've given. I'm sure our participants, just like us, are inspired to take up collaborative efforts. And ideally, it's one of the need of the hours today. We cannot work in our silo, so we need to look at it from different perspectives. Every aspect of research has become interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. And thank you for giving us the breakdown and the difference in simple terms that all of us could understand as well. So we would now move to the vote of thanks. I would like to request our IQAC Director, Reverend Father Yeshudas, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr. Parul Singh, for that wonderful, insightful session. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at the end of these 7 days of FTP, I place and record my thanks to all those who participated very especially, and also to all the resource persons and to the organizers. Before I begin, I'd like to present some statistics about this FTP itself. In all, we had 238 participants who registered. Of these, 73 were PhD holders, 173 females, and 65 males. We have had participants from 25 states of India and 3 also from Oman. The participants, the distribution state-wise is presented here. From Karnataka, we have 78 participants, from Tamil Nadu 57, from Kerala 22, Gujarat 11, Assam 10, and the rest as it is given there. So we are thankful to all. All the participants who come from 25 states of India. That is nice. And then here we have the participants from different institutions. We were blessed this time to have participants from almost 164 different institutions of India and also Oman. Of this, we have had nine participants from Auxilium College, Vellore, Autonomous College, and then from Kerala, Angadikadu, 8 participants, Krista Jayanti College, Bangalore, 8 participants, Salesian College, Autonomous, Siliguri, 5, and the rest as it is presented here. Thank you so much. Please thank the respective principals and directors for reposing their trust and faith in us and for allowing all to participate in this RFTP. Thanks also to these individuals who have participated in more than 2 events of our college. Last year in January, we had an FTP. In the month of April, we had an international conference on artificial intelligence and sustainability. And then we have had another FTP this year. These are few of the participants who have been very loyal to all the programs that we conduct, who join us, participate, and to encourage us. Thank you so much for your continued support and trust. I also take this opportunity to thank globeethics.net for collaborating with us in this FTP. This is the second time we are collaborating together in organizing an FTP. Very special thanks to Ms. Rajula for making available the platform and also for finding resource persons, the international ones for this RFTP. Thanks to Ms. Esther Ghosh for taking care of all the technical details of this RFTP. Thank you so very much. I also place on record my sincere thanks to Ms. Pratiksha Upadhyay at Don Bosco College for a timely assistance, especially to those who had some problems in getting connected to the meeting. Thank you so very much. I also thank Reverend Father C.M. Jose, the director of Don Bosco College, and Reverend Father Shajin Orana, the principal of Don Bosco College, for their continued support to the faculty and to the students, and very especially for their vision in the growth of our college. They have been a huge support to us whenever we have been organizing any of the events in the college. Thanks to each of them. And finally, I place on record my sincere thanks to the organizers of the FTP, Dr. Mary Binu and Ms. Mary Nirmal Preeti. The whole FTP was conceptualized, executed to the detail by these 2 organizers. Congratulations. And I also wish that you organize many more of these FTPs. Thanks for taking along the whole group together in organizing this FTP. Thanks once again to all the participants for joining us. We hope to organize another FTP and we also seek your support and collaboration in the future. Thank you so very much. May God bless each and everyone.